Good morning. Morning is broken. I'm your consecrated host, Father Jeff.
I'm your consecrated host, Jonathan.
We're both your consecrated hosts, us. Good to see you, Jonathan.
We're also both fathers.
I
just added a wrinkle.
A wrinkle. You know how I love to iron wrinkles. All right, so here we are talking to you today again. It is Thursday, October 8th. 101th episode. It's our 101th episode. Or the 9011th episode.
9011th.
The 9011th episode. Okay, so we're starting all over again. Whole new format. Not really. No, we're just continuing on. We're working through the Screwtape letters. We're living life. We're enjoying fall. Things are, I don't know, ordinary.
We are in ordinary time.
We are in ordinary time.
I should have worn green.
What's new and exciting, Jonathan? Anything?
No.
Not really.
No.
I mean, it's kind of a...
It's good. There was so much chaos and...
Yeah, once that school year started, that academic year, everything really kind of picked up in the parish, and it was been busy, and we moved forward, and we kind of went long on our episode yesterday, so we're going to keep this episode kind of short.
We'll try to keep it tidy.
We'll keep it tidy.
Yeah, my life has gotten crazy. I sold a house, bought a house, moved retreat, festival, and then now it's just like we can kind of settle in.
Yeah.
Before things pick up again.
It's going to pick up. I think I'm going to take a vacation, Jonathan.
Oh.
What do you think about that?
I mean...
You know I'm not lying.
It has been a few weeks.
It has been known to happen. Shush. Let's just dive right back into Screwtape letters. This is an interesting chapter.
Yeah.
Because he really tackles... We're on letter 26. He really tackles this idea of, once again, how when the evil one approaches us to tempt us, it's always using something that we think should be of God and turning it just ever so slightly away so that it messes everything up.
Yeah, we did this before with, was it gluttony? That we talked about how the gluttony of, wanting something a particular way.
Yeah, just so. And it's just... I had never thought of gluttony that way, and I talked to Genevieve, my wife, about it, and she's just like, yeah, I've never thought of it that way either. I want just so.
Yeah, and just, I think we approach today's topic very much in the same way, where we probably never thought of it that way, because when we think of unselfishness...
Which is what this topic is about, or this chapter is about.
Oh, it's good to be unselfish. That's that's commendable.
Right. And what he does is, first of all, we begin with the notion of love. So he kind of builds up into this. We're going to move towards this. So we begin with the love. So we have this courtship. The dating of these the patient and his beloved. And so there's a courtship going on. And what he wants is this is the time when they're in love with one another to start sowing the seeds that are going to then grow into domestic hatred later on. Because if you plant little seeds of you're obnoxious to me, but I'm in love with you, and so I'm just going to put that aside and never really deal with it, that later on, when the external love fades, then those other things that we've never dealt with come up to the forefront.
Yeah. You put up with it because I love you and I don't want to offend you or make you mad, so I'm not going to do anything with it.
That's right.
Then it boils over, and
this is often when people come in for counseling because they're having marital difficulties. I'm going to say it is 100% of the time not having dealt with something at some other point in their relationship, that they never dealt with it, and that then when all of the external, when the sugar has worn off, all they're left with is a Sour Patch Kid.
Those are delicious.
When the sugar's on them, great, and then they get really or those atomic heat bombs or whatever the heck. I don't know.
But yes, no, you have to deal with things when they come.
They're going to be planted and they're going to come back. Nothing ever really goes away.
No, and that's the same way with sin. It's the same way with anything in life. If there is something that is a problem, you don't do with your car. It's making a weird noise, or the check engine light comes on. It's like, it's probably nothing. Well, that probably nothing, if you don't get it checked out and make sure that it's nothing, can turn into a bigger something. You don't change your brakes. I just got my brakes changed, and they said if you waited a couple more weeks, the bill would have been way higher.
You would have done some serious damage.
Yeah, and that's just with life. You deal with it.
Don't repress, don't deny. Deal with it. So he wants to build on this ambiguity of the word love, and we've talked about that before. And we don't need to revisit that whole conversation.
What is love?
Got to do with it. Got to do with it.
Oh, I was going to say, baby, don't hurt me. But
that also works, yeah. Maybe.
What's love got to do? Got to do.
It's an emotion.
It is
that's
an emotion.
that's what that song is. It's a secondhand emotion. And that's exactly it. He says, no, that's what the evil one wants you to believe. He wants you to believe that love is an emotion, as opposed to what love really is.
So the evil one isn't the good one, because the evil one in the book is God.
Right. So when I talk about the evil one, not that the evil one, the devil, always calls God the enemy. Calls him the enemy.
Not the evil one.
The evil one is the devil. Okay, so let's let them think that love is this feeling, and that it's going to last, and that it's going to conquer everything. And so basically, you need to be unselfish. And that's how you're going to survive a relationship. And that sounds very Christian. That in your relationship, Jonathan, as a married man, you need to be unselfish. And that's the way the relationship is going. And Genevieve needs to be unselfish. That's even in a friendship.
That sounds.
It sounds right. It strikes the ear and it's like, okay, yeah, that sounds right. The problem is, as he describes here, that they are substituting the negative unselfishness for God's positive charity. So you see that there's two different things going on here. There's charity, and the opposite of charity, in this case, you could say is selfish. Mm-hmm. So there's charity and selfishness. Rather than replacing selfishness with charity, let's just leave charity over here and take selfishness and just it. Unselfish. So the focus still remains on the unselfish. It would be like saying, we've got the devil and God. Let's just set God over here and say, we believe in the undevil.
And the focus is still on the self then, where the proper thing probably would be being selfless.
Yes.
Where being selfless disregards self then, and is the charitable form.
Yep, is the positive
Is
thing.
the positive. Being selfless is always positive.
Right. Being selfish is bad. Excuse me. There was a little
a frog in your throat.
Oh my goodness, just jumped right out of there. So a little hic burp.
A hic burp.
You know what a hic burp is?
I do now.
That was a hic burp. Whew. Excuse me while I wash that hic burp down. So you take this negative thing and you don't positive it. You give it a double negative, which makes it positive, but doesn't really. A negative one. Well, then just say one. That's okay. So this is what we do. We don't want to give him directly a good. We just want to negate the negative, which still kind of leaves it negative. Mm-hmm. So what ends up happening is that you're meant in relationship to think that you are supposed to be unselfish in your relationship. And that sounds like a good thing, which means I need to hold myself back. I need to sacrifice something for this other person. I have to be unselfish.
Right.
Okay. Now, he describes something here between men and women that I often see in counseling relationships, when I work with couples preparing for marriage, and the way they communicate. It's not 100%, it's a generalization, but many, many times when the way the brain is wired, and this is something that I learned, I did some research and I read 2 wonderful books several years ago. One was called The Male Brain and one was called The Female Brain. And they really, it's like I'm reading this and saying, oh my gosh, that is me. Or, oh my gosh, that is the women that I've worked with in counseling and marriage prep in the classroom, etc. So it really helped me understand relationships a lot. I recommend these books. I think they're still valid and really based in some good science. The author looked at how the neurology, the neural pathways of the brain worked. And her thinking was, her study demonstrated that men and women tend to think certain ways, not just because of environmental nurturing factors, but because the brains, when you soak a brain in testosterone or in estrogen, it's going to then start to work a certain way. And the pathways that the neurons cut are going to be cut very, very differently. Mm-hmm. So if you were to look at something, and I describe it like, if you like take a look at this, if I lay out a multi-lens telescope, okay, I have a telescope, it's got several lenses within it,
and we're going that way.
And I hand it, here's this telescope, and I hand it to the fellow, and I say, man, tell me what you got here, what are you seeing? He's like, well, I see this telescope, and it's got all these different parts to it, and this is what they're all going to do. He breaks it apart. If I hand it to a female, she will take it and say, well, I see this way through the telescope. I see everything lined up. That there's just a different way of seeing. Perception is very, very different. So what Screwtape is describing here is, in the relationship, capitalize upon the way men and women, for the most part, tend to perceive the world differently.
It's just their mindset going into...
It's a perception thing. You're seeing the same thing, but you're seeing it from 2 different perspectives, and that makes your interpretation of it a little differently. This author that I'm talking to about, she would describe, I think, that the female brain as being like a pile of spaghetti, where every strand touches every other strand. So if you have this impulse over here, it's going to signal every other memory that was kind of like that and bring them all into a single focus. Like, I see everything through that experience. Where a man's brain would be more like a waffle with all these little compartments in it, and this experience has nothing to do with that experience, has nothing to do with that experience. They're all separate in their little boxes.
Yeah. Men can compartmentalize those things way easier. Where women, it is, oh, well, this affects this, it affects this, it affects this, and all the waffle pieces are connected.
Yeah.
Because it's spaghetti.
Exactly.
Everything's touching.
Everything's touching. So the female brain tends to want to see relationship. The male brain wants to see separation. Like, let me look at the parts. So they're built to do very different things, which then makes relationship kind of strange. So Screwtape is saying, a lot of times your female is going to want to express love by doing things.
Serving.
For someone else. Like, I'm going to do something for you. And the guy is going to want to express love by staying out of the way and letting you do things. Okay. If I here's we go to our love languages. Oh, if I interpret love as doing something for someone else, and he's not actively doing something for me, what am I going to interpret?
He doesn't love me.
Or if I'm a guy and I interpret love as giving me space, and she is coming at me with all of these things, what am I going to see?
Overbearing.
She's a nag.
Yeah, just
that he doesn't say anything, she can't stop talking. And you're going to get this. You're going to get these two sort of things happening. Wow, it's amazing. Communication. I studied communication in college. I love it. And just to see these patterns and how that all works.
That was my major.
It's fascinating. Was it your major?
Yeah.
That's my major as well.
Yeah.
Look at that. We are two communicators.
That graduated from the University of St. Thomas.
Also the University of St. Thomas, but a different University of St. Thomas.
And I had a minor in philosophy.
I had a minor in philosophy. You could have been a priest. And
you
then
could have
you
been
got
a father.
married. And I am a father.
I'm also a priest.
Yes, you are. In the common priesthood. The baptismal priesthood. We don't want to confuse people.
No. I am not a Roman Catholic clergy
And
priest.
I am not a daddy. So that is the thing. So basically,
scandalized.
What we want each person to do is we want them to just bury those feelings about the other. That I have to be unselfish and I need to just bury this.
Mm-hmm.
So basically what it means to love this person is to put up with.
All right.
That's what unselfishness means. I have to put up with and just let you do your thing. So it almost becomes very passive.
Right, because I'm not going to do how I cannot love you or serve you the way I want to.
And rather than, and this is my counsel to couples when they're preparing for marriage and couples in counseling, if you know that she expresses love through acts of charity, and that's how she then perceives love, then maybe you need to do little things for her that make her feel good, even if that doesn't really express your own love. Like you would express love differently, but that's the way she understands it, or
right.
Vice versa. That's the way he understands.
But it's active.
If he understands love as giving someone their space, then I can show him love by letting him come home, do his thing for a while, and then engaging him, giving him a little bit of space. That doesn't feel like love to me, but boy, he's going to appreciate that. There's
and it's not a complete suppression of yours,
right?
But you are also giving, because love language. So this is something Genevieve and I had to find out. We lived long distance,
sure,
and luckily we read the love languages book. And there's love languages that you receive and give, and they can be different.
They can.
And we had to learn what each other's receiving was, because what we received was very different. What we expressed in love and giving was very different.
Yep.
And so we had to work it out and say, oh, this is what you need. I can give you that. Now you have to be intentional. But
absolutely.
Love is intentional.
You have to think about it as speaking two different languages. That you speak French, I speak German, and I can just speak lots of German at you, and I can get louder and more and use bigger words, and you're not going to understand a thing I say.
Je ne sais pas. Je ne sais pas.
Was? Was? Ich spreche auf Deutsch? It's not going to... It doesn't matter. So what I need to do is, even if I speak it with a German accent, I need to speak your French. Mm-hmm. And you need to speak my German. You have to translate your love language. So if physical touch is really communicative of love, then okay, I'm going to sit next to you on the couch and put my arm around you and maybe, rub your leg or your back or whatever. That's going to communicate. That is like, it's doing nothing for me. That's not how I would express love for you. But I know you receive love that way. So that touch is going to be very, very important. I'm going to translate. Like, I love you. I want to show you I love you. I would rather do this, but I know this is what's really important to you, so I'm going to do that. Mm-hmm. There's an activeness to it.
Yeah, it's active. It's not suppression, it's an active.
And what Screwtape is suggesting is get them to suppress, and just like, and the great example here is when they're trying to figure out something. So I'm going to flip ahead because like if you
it's
want
bottom
something,
here of 143.
If you want something, and I'm going to move it into a modern example. You're together, and you are trying to decide what kind of pizza to order, or what kind of movie to watch, or whatever. And what do you say? Because you think it is unselfish?
I'll watch whatever you want.
I don't care. Get whatever you like.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not helpful to me. What do you want? Because I don't really care. I don't really care either. Okay. Then how about hot peppers and anchovies?
Oh no, the anchovies aren't cool. Can we do something else?
Fine. What do you want?
I mean, you can choose whatever you like.
See, and we've all been this way. Whether you're in a circle of friends, whether you're in a relationship, it's like no one wants to express an opinion because I need to be unselfish, and I want what the other person wants, but I kind of want what I want. But I won't say what I want because I don't think that that's charitable. And what Screwtape says here is you get into this battle then of being who can be more unselfish. And that really doesn't fulfill. It kind of you build up a bitterness there.
It devolves, it breaks apart.
Because then the next conversation that will happen 2 weeks later, well, last time you got to pick the movie that we were going to go see, so I thought I would pick it. So then we start keeping track. There's tabs that are kept.
Or we're not going to have any pizza at all.
Yeah, or you just get frustrated. Fine, if we can't figure this out, then just we'll stay home. We'll do nothing.
I'll get my own food.
I'm gonna just eat a can of soup. Yeah, I mean it can devolve down into that. So what he would say that if each side had been frankly contending for its own real wish, they would have kept within the bounds of reason and courtesy. If I would have said, I'm thinking about pizza tonight, and I'm really good with anything except olives on a pizza. I'm not a big olive fan. I don't know. What are your favorites?
We could just do supreme without olives.
That sounds delightful. Let's do that. Look at that. Boom. We got someplace. Or I was kind of thinking of pepperoni. Ooh, pepperoni kind of makes my stomach upset if I eat it too late.
Heartburn.
What if we went with Canadian bacon, a pineapple, and a Hawaiian pizza? Oh, I love that. Let's do it.
You really went there. Pineapple does not belong on pizza.
Hawaiian pizza's delicious.
Well, we'll never get pizza together.
Jonathan, Hawaiian pizza.
Speaking of pizza together.
Canadian bacon. Speaking of pizza together.
Saturday. Theology night.
That's coming up.
Yeah. And we're serving pizza.
We're going to serve pizza. So yes, Theology Night. We use it,
shameless plug.
Announcement. Theology Night. We do run those. We live stream those, and maybe you'll watch it. We're talking about conscience and how you are, how you form your conscience, which is an important thing. And instead of doing a full-blown potluck, like we used to do before COVID, we are going to order some pizzas and some salad. You can bring whatever you want to eat. You can bring your own beverages. We'll have water and lemonade or whatever.
And you don't have to know anything about forming your conscience. It is all there just to gather with parishioners.
Yeah.
Maybe non-parishioners.
I'm going to talk at you. You can share some time. We'll answer questions.
It's kind of like the morning show live without me and just Father Jeff talking.
Yes, if you'd rather have this.
Oh, Lord.
Come to Theology Night or tune in. But we will be serving some pizza. And I believe we're having pepperoni and cheese.
Yes.
With some salad and a few salad dressings. So, yeah, join us. It's after the evening mass, 6 to about 7:15, 7:30-ish. Join me in my library.
Excellent.
All right. So that
was like a commercial break.
That was like a commercial break. Back to our regularly scheduled program. So, Jonathan, yes. I have no idea what we were talking about. But it is really going from... We're talking about pizza, of course. Canadian bacon. Hawaiian pizza, pineapple. That takes us back. Anywho.
But just actually giving your opinion is not uncharitable.
Exactly. Being who you are and giving who you are into a relationship, that's what charity is. And you're going to be two different people. Fine. Well, that's where communication comes in. And then you settle upon something that is mutually acceptable. Self-sacrifice, charity, what charity is a gift to the other. It is not I have to punish or repress myself.
Right.
That's why unselfishness continues that negative perception as opposed to charity where I am giving real love. And that's what real love is. And if I'm really giving myself and we're constantly really giving ourselves, then there's nothing hiding or being buried in the corners that's going to grow bitter and then come out at some point and destroy this relationship.
Right. So we were talking about pizza. I was thinking of supreme pizza.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe not liking olives.
Right.
And let's say we're in a group, the whole staff wants supreme pizza, likes olives, and I don't really like them. I can say, hey, I don't really like olives, but if all of you like them, I could probably just pick them off.
There you go. There's an act of charity. But you've said that. You're not going to then sit there and like, oh, why'd they get this olive? And then sit there and pick them off right in front of everyone. Very obvious. Like, I don't like waxy little bits of fake food on my pizza. Wouldn't do that.
Wow.
Don't put black olives
We've
on
touched
my pizza.
a nerve.
I like olives in a martini glass. Not on a pizza. So, what you want them to eventually come to notice, if they notice all of these little things, they will be on the road to discovering that love, quote, this feeling of infatuated love, is not enough. That charity is needed and not yet achieved, and that no external law can supply its place. Charity is not unselfishness. Charity will involve sacrifice, but a sacrifice done in a gift of self is pleasurable, or at least not a suffering.
No, you're doing it for the greater good.
There's a joy in it. The cross, passion. Passion equally means suffering and love. And a passion that is done in love, while there may be suffering involved, is joyful. Because it is building a relationship. It's expressing love.
There's a greater good.
So, I titled my chapter, Unselfishness. That's triple negative, that one.
Yeah. I had something about selflessness. I didn't know what to play with it. And so we're not going to go that route because it said selfless here. But how about as you wish?
Pineapple pizza it is.
Okay, not as you wish. I will put my foot down at that.
I'm hungry for pizza now. Jonathan, I'm going to go make an order. We'll see you later.
Adios.
Bye-bye.
What's the French and German adios? Is it au revoir?
No, that's French. Au revoir.
But that's the French.
That's French.
Adios.
Yes, and German would be auf Wiedersehen.
A feet in sand?
Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Until we see again. Auf Wiedersehen.
Aloha.
Goodbye.